Shalom, Yasharel, to the Israelites scattered to the four corners, and giving all praises and glory to the great I am. You know what's interesting, Yasharel? Of all the things that's been going on, and I'm talking about there's been a lot of crazy things going on this earth, especially for the preparing of the return of the Mashiach. But you know what I find strikingly interesting is the high increase of UVA, B, and C rays on this earth. And I mean intense. Meteorologists are predicting the year 2025, especially starting in June, to be some record-breaking UV rays. Now, what does this mean for us, the Israelites scattered to the four corners? Or I should say melanated people, period. But before we can get on that note, we got to understand, why would the powers that be spend trillions, and I mean trillions of dollars, spraying the sky? What's up with that? What are they trying to hide? And no matter how much chemtrails they spray, and we've seen the chemtrails. We saw it growing up. We used to wonder, why are they spraying these skies so heavily? There's a reason for that. No matter what they do, they cannot stop the truth. This is why the lesson is called "The Sun Will Tell the Truth." Anything that was not organically created by the hands of the Almighty will eventually have to be destroyed. I don't think y'all understand what that really means, or the gravity of that. Anything that the Most High did not create will have to be destroyed. And you're going to see where I'm going with this here pretty soon. And y'all all remember the jab. That's right. Y'all remember the jab. Remember this whole big thing, stay inside. They were encouraging everybody to stay out the sun. Stay out the sun. Stay inside. The sun's going to harm you. And let me tell you, they had just about everybody food. I could say the majority of the population of the earth took that jab. When you look at the record, over 6 billion people took the jab. Most of them were forced, especially if you lived in third world countries. Oh, you were forced. You were taking that jab no matter what. You had to die if you didn't want to take that jab. But they made everybody do it. Well, at least the bots, I should say. But anybody who had common sense and who did their research knew better, especially the chosen. Now let's analyze a little bit so that we're on one accord when it comes to the Almighty's holy power and destruction. Now, anytime the Almighty brought destruction on this earth, he never used man's devices. Let me rephrase that. Anytime the Most High brought destruction on this earth, he always uses the natural elements of destruction. Not one verse you're going to see where he had to use man's devices in order to destroy our enemies. You see, when it comes to the power of nature and the forces of nature, there is no technology on this earth that can even compare to it. No matter how much we advance in technology, it would never come close to matching the destructive power of the Almighty. I mean, let that ponder for a minute. He destroyed the earth with a flood. With water, y'all. With water. No nuke can compare to that. He destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah with fire and brimstone. He always uses the natural elements. And when it comes to that kind of power, there is nothing that can compare. Let's get some more examples. Go ahead and turn to the book of Nahum. The book of Nahum, chapter 1. And I'm going to show you. The book of Nahum, chapter 1. And I'm going to start with verse 3. It says, Yahuah is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. In other words, they ain't getting away with nothing. Yahuah has his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. He rebukes the sea and makes it dry, and dries up all the rivers. Bashan languishes, and Carmel and the flower of Lebanon languishes. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence. Yea, the world and all that dwell therein. Who can stand before his indignation? And who can abide in the fierceness of his anger? His fury is poured out like fire, and the rocks are thrown down by him. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out, but in the last 10 years, we have seen a heavy increase of natural disasters, from fires, from tornadoes, hurricanes, drug addictions, pestilence, floods, and all manners of storms and floodings, suicides. We have seen it. We have seen an increase, especially amongst our enemies. Or I should say the enemy of the Israelites. We have seen an increase of these natural disasters, and it's going to keep increasing. Now we're in the year 2025, and we've already seen record-breaking storms. Every year, year after year, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Next thing you know, what the highest tornado recorded is an F5. We're going to probably start seeing F6. F6, that's when you get into like 500 miles an hour wind. And don't be fooled, because this is all happening in preparation to the deliverance of his people. The Most High is moving pieces together like we've never seen before. All right, let's look at another one. Let's look at Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 5 and verse 15. It says, "So it shall be a reproach and a taunt, an instruction and an astonishment unto the nations that are round about you, when I shall execute judgment in you in anger and in fury and in furious rebukes. I, Yahuah, have spoken it." So what do you think he means when he says furious rebukes? You think he's coming with flowers, candy, and popsicles? No, he's getting ready to unleash hell on our enemies. See, just because things are not happening to them right away and they're not being executed and judged right away doesn't mean that they're not going to be judged. What's happening is that all the things that they have done is building up. Because you remember, the Most High is long suffering, because at the same time, he has to rebuke us. The Most High has to chastise us and to prepare us and take us through the fire. We got to get that work too. But we got to get molded and shaped until the way the way he wants to mold us. All right. So he has to shape us. So yes, it's going to hurt for us, to the point where we have to either get right, or we're going to be on the other side of the fence, waiting for the lake of fire. So the Most High is preparing us, but at the same time, he is building up furious for our enemies. And I mean, it's going to come out hard. The scripture says that when he returns, the blood is going to be up to the horse's bridle. So you know what that's going to mean. I can only imagine what that's going to look like. Now turn to the book of Micah. Micah chapter 5, and let's look at verse 15. And it goes on to say, "And I will execute vengeance in anger and in fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard." Let me read that one more time. "And I will execute vengeance in anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard." Well, this can only mean one thing. How do you think the Most High is going to bring fury and vengeance upon our enemies? Guess what? Through the power of the elements. This is why you're seeing an increase of natural disasters. And look, if this is not enough to convince you, let me show you something else. All right, let's go back in time and let's show you that the Most High indeed used the natural elements, the power of the natural elements that he brought on with this holy power to deliver his people. Y'all remember the 10 plagues of Egypt? All right, back in the day when our people were all gathered together in the land of Goshen, how they were protected from these plagues. The water turning into blood, the frogs, the gnats, the flies, the disease and pestilence, the boils, the hail and fire, locusts, darkness, death of the firstborn. Now, you cannot tell me that the Most High does not use the power of his nature to destroy our enemies. Come on, Yasharel. The writing's on the wall. We see it plain and simple. And we know that the Most High does not change. And guess what? He is not going to change his tactics, because no matter how advanced in technology we become, man, these heathens they cannot compete. There's nothing that they can do to avert the power of the Almighty. And the Most High is allowing them to increase in technology, just so he can show our enemies that their powers are nothing. These man-made devices, whatever they want to call them, these storm makers and all that kind of stuff, still will not come close to what the Most High can produce when he's ready to get down and pour out his fury and his anger. Man, our enemies have no idea what they're dealing with. And what we're witnessing and seeing today is just a pre-taste of what the Most High is going to do in the post. I'm telling y'all, the Most High hasn't even warmed up yet, but we're already starting to see the beginning phases, the beginning stages of his mighty power and destruction. All right. And I truly believe that one particular element he is going to increase heavily. And that's what I'm going to get into for the remaining of this discussion, because I'm telling you, we are going to see some intense heat. I'm talking about intense fire. And I'm not talking about that kind of fire you see in forest fires. Well, you see fire trucks trying to put out the fires. I'm not talking about that kind of fire. I'm talking about this intense heat that's getting ready to come upon the earth through the Most High's creation, one of his creation, which is the sun, that's going to be pushing out even more intense UVC rays, which is the most intense, a germ killer, a purifier, a genetic repairer. Not all people will benefit from this, especially the non-melanated, all right, because they don't have the capacity to intake what is getting ready to come. And this is what I mean by when I say the sun will tell the truth, because again, like I said in the beginning, anything that was not organically created by the hands of the Almighty will have to be eliminated. And nature has a way of eliminating these kinds of things. So what do I mean when I say that anything that was not organically created by the hands of the Most High? Well, if it's not organic, then it must be a what? A mutation. What is a mutation? It is the alteration or to tampering of genetics to create something that is not natural. Now, I know that some people are going to try to argue this, and this is going to be a hard pill for many to swallow, but the Most High does not create mutations. All right, that comes as a result of either man tampering with something they shouldn't be tampering with, or changing the molecular structure of a species. I'll give you some examples. When you have the Bible talks about the wolf, fox, and certain breeds of dogs. But now you have all these different types of breeds of dogs that have been tampered and manipulated. These mutations, it works the same with the human species. You know where I'm going. I can't say too much on it without raising red flags, but you know where I'm going with this. All right, but I'll give you an example. Let's look at Genesis 2:7. Very simple. And Yahuah formed the man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living soul. Dust of the ground. There was no such thing as white dirt. Everything the Most High created had melanin. But see, historians would have you believe that blackness is a curse and that whiteness, non-melanated, is a blessing, is righteousness. The same thing that rejects the sun that couldn't even hold sunlight for more than 10 minutes without burning up. Now that's something to ponder on, because even scientists have proven that the whole world at one time was all melanated. All right, so what does that tell you? That means that, according to historians, that the first paleface was not discovered until shortly before the Greeks. And the question is, how did these people mutate so quickly, and how did it spread so quickly? Well, I'm going to tell you something. The sun is getting ready to tell the truth, because it's time for elimination. We are getting into that phase where we're getting ready to see some serious eliminations. Why do you think these people cling to our people? Why do you think they try to get us to impregnate them so they can survive, so that their genes can survive on? Because they know that we have the master gene. So if they can tap into that and get our people to have children by them, they can survive just a little longer. Don't be fooled by this. They know this. The powers that be know this. And this is why they spend so much money advertisement showing you our people with our enemies. But they don't show you our people with their own people, but they always show these people clinging on to our people, having babies by them, and so forth. So I'm just throwing that piece out there because we see it in plain sight. All right, now let's get to the most obvious. The ultimate mutation killer. The ultimate source that determines what's organic and what's not. Now remember, I told you all and I showed you from the scriptures how the Most High uses the force of nature to bring on destruction upon our enemies. So let's look at another one. Or I should say the main one. The book of Revelation, chapter 16, starting with verse 8. And this is the plagues, one of the plagues that the Most High is going to rain down. Hasn't happened yet, but we know that the sun is getting hotter and hotter every year. It's throwing out these UVC rays like never before, record breaking. But let's look to see what we have to look for the future. Revelation 16 and verse 8. And the fourth angel poured out his veil upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. Hold on now. Wait a minute. You mean the Most High is going to use the sun, his creation, to burn up people? Let's look at the next one, verse 9. And men were scorched with great heat. You hear that? And men were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of Yahuah, which has power over these plagues. And they repented not to give him glory. Now, when we go back, because remember, we're going to see a second Exodus. And when the Most High brought our forefathers out of Egypt, who were these plagues for? Were they for Israel? Did any other 10 plagues touch the Israelites? Absolutely not, according to the scriptures. They were gathered together in the land of Goshen, and the Most High protected them. And guess what? It's going to be the same thing when the Most High rains down his destruction through the forces of nature. I want to take y'all back on a little flashback from my childhood. Now, for those of you who are listening to me that's around my age, you know the term called recess. Y'all know what that meant, right? That means that, now I don't know if they still call it that these days now in elementary, where the kids go outside and play, but we had that growing up. And during my elementary years, we would all have to go outside. I mean, it was mandatory. I mean, that's what they taught, get out in the sun and play and all that kind of stuff. But one thing I noticed, that all the white kids, when they played outside with us, the very next day, they would have these blisters on them. It was like these little pusky blisters like you see here. It was crazy because like none of the black kids had these. And there were a lot of black kids in this elementary school that I went to. And not one black kid had these kind of blisters. I never had them. None of my friends had these blisters. Only the white kids. It didn't matter if they were white, Mexican, white, whatever. If they were non-melanated, they had these blisters. And I would always ask them, it's like, what happened to you? Oh, we were out in the sun and we got burned. I'm like, and as a kid, you don't know what that means, like burn. What does that mean? And man, it looked gross too. You see these little blisters on them and everything. And, and it didn't think nothing of it, as a kid, you don't know anything about melanin and all that kind of stuff. But as I got older, then I started to realize, wow, okay, they can't take the sun, because after a few minutes, they'll start burning up and they'll get blisters. But we were created in a way where the Most High has put that in us, that melanated, that creation, that organic beings of the earth, all right, are the only ones who can absorb to stay out in the sun all day long. Now, if our ancestors were working in the hot sun during slavery and all that, and they kept on trucking and going, hey, what does that tell you? That tells you that we were made for the sun. And also, it's a cut for anybody who try to say, oh, yeah, there were white people way back during the days of creation, because when the Most High created man, everything was melanated. But leave it to our enemies, they would have you believe that Adam and Eve were white, blonde, long hair, blue eyes, righteous, pure-bred beings. Holies of all mankind, the ultimate righteousness. You're right. Nothing can be further from the truth. You better study your history. Deeply. There were no non-melanated beings at creation or after. All that came about through mutations. Thousands of years later. Let's get it right. All right. You can take it or leave it. You can agree or disagree. Doesn't matter. When you do your research, you'll see what's happening. Why do you think they spend so much money trying to convince you that blackness is a curse? Why do you think they're trying to reverse psychology on you, trying to do reverse psychology on you to make you feel like you're trash, that you're a curse, that you're a mutation, when in reality, they're the mutations. This is why the sun is going to tell the truth. I'm telling you, you cannot beat the Most High's wisdom. Even with all the lies that our enemies have placed and told, the truth will always prevail. And they know it. The powers that be know it. And they know that sun is increasing in UV rays, ultraviolet rays, which is rays that you cannot see with the naked eye, but it penetrates so hard. Now, when you look at the UV graph here, they got in the green 1 to 2, which is being light, 3 through 5, which is they recommend that you stay out the sun. 6 and 7 starts to get to that dangerous level. And then 8 through 9 is when they tell you that, outside, if you're outside longer than 12 minutes, you'll start to burn. Well, not for us. All right. Not for the chosen, not for those who are made for the sun. Remember what I said earlier, the sun will tell the truth. And this sun is going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. Every year, we're going to see record-breaking UV rays. Now, we're already in the highs. Now, a lot of times, if you really want to read the UV, you probably need to get you a UV reader, which would be more accurate, because a lot of times these UV things that, you can look on the weather on your phone, a lot of it is fabricated. They can alter that kind of stuff. But when you get a reader, you can actually see. So we've been in the 11s, the 11 between 11 and 12 all week long since 5 June. That's pretty much across the U.S. And why are they not talking about these high record ultraviolet rays that are coming from the sun that's starting to destroy anything that's not organic? They're not going to tell you. But, if everybody was one race, if everybody was the same, then they would have something to say. But they know that the melanated people have something special. They know this. And they are truly afraid. This is why things are falling apart everywhere. The Most High is putting all the pieces together. And once our people start to wake up and start to realize who they are, turn from their wickedness and come to the commandments of the Most High, I'm telling you, a frequency is going to be released that is so fierce and penetrating that nothing is going to be able to stop it. And you already know how they do. You know how they're trying to classify us as cults, extremists. Whether you call yourself a Hebrew Israelite, Messianic Israelite, they thought that this was just going to be a walk in the park kind of thing, a quick uprise and then downfall. Oh no, this thing is moving like a freight train. And those who truly love the Almighty will keep his laws, commandments, and statutes. And those are the ones that the Most High is going to reveal his power to. And the sun is starting to release frequencies that the world has never experienced, ever. Now, the highest ever recorded of a UV ray that happened was in 2003 in Bolivia, and it was at a 43.3. Now, that's not even on the surface. Now, just imagine if we get to this point during our lifetime. Do you know that every single non-organic mutations will be completely destroyed? I'm telling y'all, they know this, y'all. And why do you think they study us? Why do you think they want our melanin like crazy? Why do you think they, and I would not be surprised. Well, I'm not surprised. But when our people die, whether it be of violence or whatever, what is the first thing that they try to strip and use? Our melanin, our organs, everything. Because they know that we have the master gene. They know that we are the master genetics of this earth. We are the melanated created beings of the Almighty. But it's just sad that we don't know that. It's sad that we're willing to give up our birthright and to sacrifice for a few morsels. Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 21 and 22. You shall not be frightened at them, for Yahuah is among you a mighty El and terrible. And Yahuah will put out those nations before you little and little. You may not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon you. The Most High refers to these people as beasts. And the Most High is using the forces of nature and his creation to bring on destruction. Now, we're only getting a pre-taste of what's to really come. And by the grace of the Almighty, if we live long enough, we may see UVC ray index get up to probably in the 30s. It's possible. And I'm telling you, when those UV rays starts to go up like that especially UVC, that's when you're talking about a mutation killer, a germ killer, a gene repairer. The Almighty fights for his people as he's always done. Despite ourselves and our wickedness and our stiff neck, the Almighty still has his covenant with his people. Now that is incredible. And that right there ought to bring chills down your spine, to make you want to get up and make haste to keep the commandments of the Almighty. And with that being said, I say, make haste, Yasharel, and keep the Almighty's commandments and live. Shalom and stay strong.